Hello, gang, and welcome back to episode 72 of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. As you might see, we are a third of the team short, just because we do have a guest today. Josh unfortunately has a work emergency, so he can't make it to this. But Lucas, myself, I will take you along for this ride here. Again, this is the show, Have We Made It Yet? It's the show where two creatives and their guests talk about the process of making it. I am the actor portion of this podcast, Lucas Ng, and I'm usually joined by my co-host, Josh Young, who's the comedian portion of this podcast. I guess I have no one to throw it to me, but we usually start the show off with asking each other, Josh and I, have we made it yet? So I'm just going to ask it to myself. Lucas, have you made it yet? No, I haven't yet made it, but it's been fun because recently I signed on with a new Vancouver talent agency, and it feels good to actually get some cool roots in this city. My whole thing right now is trying to find the new within the old because I'm originally from here. So I'm finding out so many new pockets of life in this city, and it's pretty exciting. I had my first couple of auditions for casting directors here, so I really want to make a really good impression as I'm building my repertoire and also building my footing in this new city. Haven't made it yet, but again, taking steps, and I feel Vancouver's right. I wish Josh could also have a proper response to that, but he's not here. So hope you're okay, Josh. For episode 72, we do have a pretty special guest because we were supposed to get him on for season 2, but because of scheduling delays and all that stuff, we weren't able to. But for today, I'm actually really excited just because we've been trying to get him on for quite a bit, and it's finally happening now. So I'm just going to go on straight with the intro to our next amazing guest here. So our next guest here is a true artist that does it all. He acts, produces, directs, writes, develops, etc. I remember our first meeting with him when one of our mutual friends, Annabelle Loy, friend of the show here, invited myself and our next guest here as guests on her online podcast. Honestly, the moment he started talking, I was drawn to a Zoom window as the energy he was exuding there was can't miss TV. He was sprawling everywhere. At times, his pet would show up. His shirt came off at one point, I think. He literally did whatever he wanted to do at any given time. His fearlessness, confidence, diversified skill set are all things that I truly look up to him for. He has worked on big sets, including Arrow, Deadpool, and The Interview, and has acted and produced in critically acclaimed short films, such as Reverse, through his own production company, Dear Hero Studios. I honestly don't know how he keeps on pushing out material, and we'll get into that later tonight. Be it his stand-up comedy, sketches on his Instagram and TikTok, films that he's written and produced, and other projects on the way, but the man literally does it all. His output is truly inspiring, and his hustle is second to none. Please welcome Milton Ng.
Yo, what's up? Yo, what an incredible introduction, Lucas. Holy shit. Yo, am I allowed to say shit here?
Yeah, you can cuss, man. Say it out loud, bro.
Okay. Wow. I was just like, damn, yo, this guy knows what's up, man. That was a long time ago when we first met on Annabelle's podcast.
I know.
Yeah, I was just laughing. I'm like, my shirt came off. I'm like, what the hell did that happen?
I don't know. I just remember you lifting it up partially. I'm like, who? I just met this guy. This guy's awesome.
It's funny you say that. So for the listeners, you're trying to get me on, and then there's a date that you want to be on, but we'll get into that later. But I was going through a rough time of trying to put these 3 things of what I was doing. Stand-up, content creation, feature film development. I was just at the brick of just getting it started. So I was like, Lucas, hit me back later. I want to get back into it. I think you messaged me in September. Oh, that's why. I was wrestling with myself how to get back into stand-up comedy. Oh, and then in September, you messaged me. I was like, yo, I'm just focused on finding a way to get back in. And then I was like, yo, let me get back in first, and then where I want to be, and then let's have this podcast. So we're doing this now. We're doing it now. We're here.
Doing it.
And
All right. I got to ask you the question that we ask every guest here, Milton.
okay.
So, Milton, have you
Yeah.
made it yet?
Oh my God, hell no. So far away. I don't even know. I've been doing this for like, oh my God, 10, 12 years. And I'm just figuring it out, to be honest. I'm
Yeah.
just figuring it out. Like, you know, that's a really good question. That's such a great question to your guys' podcast, like how we made it there. Just asking that to yourself, amongst yourselves. And then even if we send this to any of our peers, it is inspiring just to say that. Like
Exactly.
how we made it there. It's like, no, I'm not. What am I doing today? I gotta go get my shit. I gotta go do my work. Like today, just before this podcast, I just uploaded a video on TikTok and Instagram, and I've been doing the YouTube Shorts, and YouTube Shorts only has 60 seconds. I'm like, oh, my video is like 73 seconds. I gotta cut it down. So I'm gonna go cut that down after. But yeah, I just uploaded that. Yeah. Lucas, you have to control me in this podcast because when I talk, I go everywhere.
Okay, thank you for that disclaimer that I can. I just want to figure out what would be your it in making it.
Wow, that's a really good question. Well, okay, there are a few things. Actually, what? Man, that's a deep question there, Lucas. Like, well, I'm just developing my feature film.
Nice.
Right? It's called New Diamond Restaurant. We are aiming to shoot that next summer. But then at the same time, just doing like stand-up comedy, like I think the pinnacle right now is like, you know, either get a Netflix deal one day or JFL, which is probably like 10 years in the running. So I feel like to make it would have to be both those things. I think right now for me is, I know that like even trying to get like a special that's like a recognizable, hilarious album is going to take a long time. I've been fortunate enough to be mentored by great comedians here in Vancouver. So it's going to take a long time for me to get there. So
yeah.
What was your question again?
You know what? That's a great segue, just because like you did talk about like a feature and getting like a Netflix comedy special and everything. But I did want to touch upon something that you already touched upon, which was community. Because like I'm just seeing you, and the community that you've built around yourself includes some stellar Vancouver like people, talents like Kent, Owen, Curtis, Christopher Cho, all these amazing filmmakers, producers, directors, and actors and everything. What does community mean to you, and how have you fostered that type of community within Vancouver?
Man, you are spring with great questions. Great questions. Community, first off, is super important because there's no way that any of my projects or anything I've created, I was can never be ever successful without a helping hand. And just fortunate enough to have these great peers and these great community. What does it mean? It means like when you create a project or you meet somebody with the same likes and interests of you, and you share a common goal to create a project, and knowing that either he or she is on board because of the project at hand, knowing the reason why I'm doing typically project A or project B, and having that strong backbone and the foundation, and laying the foundation and being transparent and letting each other know, I feel builds such a stronger community.
Yeah.
Because like you've only mentioned like a fraction of the people that I currently work with. There's so many, like there's Jonathan Endo, Hector Rivas, comedian friends of mine, Abdul Ali. And also for me, just getting into the stand-up comedy world back in November, it's kind of opening up my network to still having my foot in the film and all the Asian community here. And also opening this new avenue in the comedy space. So like, I think right now it's also like I'm a part of two communities, and just finding a way to eventually merge them together. But yeah, it is super important because like, you know, you go to film festivals, you go to networking events. Like we all went to Natasha Jung's documentary screening. That was a great documentary. I think it was like half an hour. I think they only screened half an hour, but there was like 45 minutes, but that was a great three mini docs, or three docs, sorry, not many, they're like 20 minutes each, but just that community of us, especially us being Asian Canadians. You're Chinese, by the way, right?
Yeah, Chinese.
So,
Yeah.
so even us
Mhm.
Chinese Canadian, just being able to tell our stories, um, to oh my god, to great lengths, and having a great community that
Yeah.
can support you, and great peers that see, share the same passion.
No doubt.
It's super important, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you briefly did touch upon where you are straddling between like two different paths right now, be it stand-up comedy and also like working in film and everything too. And I find like those two worlds are slowly colliding in ways that are generally pretty new too. Like I see on your Instagram and everything like that, you have reels and series such as like the sweaty chiropractor, the gym douche, and also like the clothes cannon and all that stuff there too. I did want to ask, it's probably just only for me, but in terms of your output, how have you been able to turn out so much good material in such a short amount of time so quickly, Milton?
Are you saying short, like short? I wouldn't say it was short period of time.
Really?
Like
Oh, okay.
I've been creating these. I think you're talking about like the present, like basically shooting a video and then all of a sudden next week shooting another video. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
By
More like that.
okay.
Yeah.
I
Turnaround
thought you meant
time.
the other
Sorry.
thing. Yeah, turnaround time.
Yeah.
So this is a very good question, for people who don't, I guess, don't know me or have met me. I've been kind of, a little backstory is I went to film school in 2009 for film production back in BFS. And then I went out and had basically film knowledge, film production knowledge. But I grew up watching Wong Fu Productions and a lot of YouTube, like Ryan Higa and all those guys. So I was very inspired by just YouTube content. So what I did was I tried to take my skills as a filmmaker and apply it to internet videos. And for me as a filmmaker, I always struggled with that, because you could make an amazing short film, and maybe it's just me, like my content, but a lot of my short films, they actually don't get any metrics, like at all. I had to respect the platform, as a guy I watch, Gary Vee, would always say. He would always respect the platform. So I tried to, I guess, relearn video creation online and know that, okay, if I'm going to create something for online, the viewing experience is completely different. You don't have to spend so much money. You can be very creative with what you do. You can ask a bunch of friends, kind of thing, and just find ways to create the content. And let me tell you, Lucas, I went through a ton of struggle of just finding, like, almost like I went to the filmmaker's depression. I went through moments where I would just like make these short films. I made this web series, and it didn't really, I got a couple of awards and all that, but none of these successes, or these small successes of award here, has ever pushed me to, like, say, a movie deal or anything like that, which is why I'm on this podcast. Have we made it yet? No.
There we are.
But like, I've always, going into a project, obviously I have that passion and that aim of like, okay, this is like, you always hope that this is the piece that's going to propel you, or you're going to submit this short film and it's going to tour across the world, and you're going to get, that's going to be your calling card. So I've always had that thought. And obviously it's like, I wouldn't say it's an ego thing, because you have to go into these all-in moments and put everything you got for this one project. You have to hope that this will be it, because if you're not, then why are you making this piece of content of the short film without going all in? So a lot of moments in my I guess career, I've just been doing all these short films and spending way too much money with no ROI. So that's why recently, just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, who I am, what I could give up. And I think the biggest struggle for me was it was these three things. It was wanting to make a movie, wanting to make a feature film. All right. That was like the filmmaker in me. Okay. Back in 2009, moving on in Vancouver, I had to do that. And then the second one was, okay, content creation, because everybody is so addicted to their phones. These platforms are crazy. Like 2020 came to TikTok. People are making money off of it. I was fortunate enough to get some really lucky brand deals. So that kind of, in a way, we'll talk more about that later. But that kind of I looked at content creation online a different way. I was like, oh, it's actually possible to make some money off of this, to potentially get me out of my tech job, because I gripped for so long. So I looked at content creation like that. And that's another way I see it right now. But then while this was happening, like wanting to create this feature film, wanting to do the content creation, I was that guy at parties that would just love to talk to people and be myself and make people laugh. And that feeling of being able to meet a stranger or anybody, just make them laugh like ridiculous, was something, I guess, the performer side in me. So literally, like, since 2017 or 2018, I think I did my first stand-up comedy, but I was always half-assing it, Lucas. Always half-assing it, because I would do it for like a few times, and then I'd be so busy with film, or I would go and bomb, and then I'd be so scared of the bombing. The silence was just destructive. Like it was so destructive for me. So while I was doing that, you know, I was talking to some people. People were always like, oh, why are you doing so many things? Why don't you just focus on one? I even read this one book called The One Thing, right? And then the more I tried to be the advice of what my peers would say, like one person's like, why don't you just focus on this feature film? Why don't you just focus on the content creation? Why don't you just focus on the comedy? I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it. I've tried for years to just focus on one thing, because what I've noticed was if I tried to focus on the one thing, it's because I loved all these the other things. I started to get depressed because I felt like I still had a lot of good skill and value there. So I call it even my friends, my friend called it the trio, right? It's this triangle I created, which is the feature film, the content creation, the stand-up comedian. So the last year or so, I found a way to balance it. That's when you asked me if I was ready for the podcast. That's in September. I wasn't ready because I was figuring out how to work this trio. Because I knew this trio in me was me. That's who I was. And I've actually did some research, and there was actually a couple speakers that have actually done TED Talks. I forget. There's a word for this, actually, for people like me that propel in these things.
I did want to discuss a little bit more about, like, of course, you talk about how VFS gave you the practical skills and how to, you know, produce films and everything, in film production and everything. But there is the intangibles that I do see within you there. So, like, I've seen your man on the street videos where you're interacting with the public, like selling mops at the Richmond Night Market. Like, I've seen that stuff. It's just incredibly bold shit that you do. In my opinion, it's pretty bold. And you're hilarious when you're doing it. And you're also just, the main thing is fearless. So I just want to, like, pick your brain about the intangibles a bit, though. Like, your energy is so magnetic. Where do you find that fearlessness? But at the same time, where do you find that drive?
Wow. Fuck. I love these questions, man. Where do I find well, I think my mind works in a way where it's like, if I want to do something, I have to just do it. And I just, you know, if you paint back to, you know what, I think if we paint back to the history of Milton Ng here, please. I was the shyest kid in class.
Get out of here.
In kindergarten, okay, I was so afraid to speak up that when they had the national anthem, it was a Catholic school I went to, and we were supposed to stand up and do the prayer. I would sit down. I was so scared. And I remember in kindergarten, people would be like, Milton doesn't speak. And then the moment where I did speak, people would surround me. Like, there's this kid named Kyle. He's like, oh my God, Milton just spoke. Hey, Milton, say apple. And then I would say apple. And then he was like, oh my God, yo, everybody, come and check this out. And there's like 10 kids surrounding me, listening to me say a word. So to really paint a spectrum of this was I spoke little. I was very shy. I was considered smart in my elementary. But as I noticed from grade like 1 to 7, what I realized, teachers that had the power to be in front of 30 students, my mind could not get over the fact of why were they so boring. As such a young kid, I've never actually said this in the podcast. This is very good stuff you got. I've always wondered, like, I was in class and we're teaching science class or whatever, social studies for an hour. And elementary class, I would get bored. And then sometimes in like junior high school, I would get bored. And I was just like, why can't they make it interesting? Why can't they make it lively and exciting and all that? Because you have the audience there. And I remember this one time in grade 7, I actually did this. I did this report called Saber-Tooth Tigers. And I took that report and I just yelled. I was like, the saber-tooth tiger did this. And it just shook everybody. It just shook. It was just, oh my God. My good friend Steve would say, like, I would just yell it out. I wasn't even, my intention back then was to just keep the audience engaged. That's all it was. And as I grew older, I still had that in my mind, but I just chose to do film work, right? I just chose to do film work, and I never really ever pursued, I guess, doing stand-up until like I think 2017. Okay, this is a story I gotta tell. I gotta tell it.
Please.
I'm supposed to do this on stage. This is supposed to be one of my jokes. It wasn't even supposed to be a joke, but this is kind of the birth of the comedian in me. So me and my lady, right? And I think it was like maybe 2017 or something, right? We were like going out, or maybe 2016. We go to Night Market. You know, everyone knows Night Market, okay? And there is this lady. I used to be a salesman, by the way. I worked at my restaurant. My parents had a Chinese restaurant. I didn't want that. That's a whole other episode. But I used to be a salesman selling TVs and electronics for about 9 months.
Wow.
So I had that salesmanship in me. So when we were at Night Market, I saw this lady. She had this headset on, okay, with the speaker, and she was selling this mop. She was like, mop, boom, boom, like insert it. She was like, come on down, all this stuff. And I was mesmerized. And I'm pretty sure, Lucas, I was the only one that was mesmerized. I looked at her and I was like, something hit my head. I was like, I gotta do something. This is an opportunity. So I told my lady Queenie, and she was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I just wanted to see if she needs help. So I went up to this lady. I'm like, hey, my name is Milton. I used to be a salesman. I'm wondering if you want a break. Like, I'd be down to, like, can I sell mops for you? She looked at me like I was a buffoon. And she's like, okay, if you're serious. So she took her headset off. She gave it to me. She gave me the demonstration of the mop, right? And I tried to sell a mop. And when I put that headset on, you know, Night Market, there's hundreds of people walking back and forth. And I'm just like trying to sell this mop with no experience. I was like, we're going to mop here, left side, right side. And I went up to people, I shook their hands, I tried to sell this mop. It was so bad. It was such a tragedy. And we recorded it. I'll send you. I actually have an old video. It's somewhere. Yeah, it's
on YouTube. Yeah.
You see that. I was in a green shirt. So I failed that day. I really failed that day. And not many people would go home and really think about their failure. I went home and I was devastated. Next year, me and my lady go back to the same market. I see the same lady again.
Nice.
And I tell them, like, oh my God, it's my second opportunity to redeem myself. And my lady was like, no, we're not doing it. All right, we're going to go eat. And I was like, okay, fine. But she thought I was kidding, but I wasn't. When I got home, I was furious. I was like, I missed my opportunity. The next year, and I think it was either 2017 or 2018, I actually emailed the Richmond Night Market. I sent them that shitty video of me failing. And I told them, hey, I want to come and sell mops. I will write material. I'll do it for free as long as I get to videotape it. So they said yes. And Night Market opens up at 7 o'clock. I got into the back door, dude. VIP entrance with my friend, with my lady. I got in at 6:45. The guy's name was Tony. He was telling me how the mop works. And I was ready. I had my headset and I was like, it's game time. 7 o'clock, people start coming in. I did a set. Like literally my mop salesmanship. Like it was like, this is the mop that your mop is not. This is the mop that your mop wants to be like. This is the mop that everybody doesn't. No, this is the mop that everybody doesn't want, but this is the mop that everybody needs. Yeah. And I would just do this story and I would talk to the crowd. But this was daytime. Everyone was there. I would gather an audience, like maybe 10, 15, but nobody bought a mop. I was fucking pissed, Lucas. And then my lady, Queenie and our friends, like there's another couple, we just went to go eat. I couldn't even eat, man. Like we're trying to eat potato rotators, beef skewers, and I'm trying to eat these things while they're having a good time. And I'm just like, I failed. This is my third time failing. I hated it. So as we were leaving, don't worry, this story's about to end. As we were leaving Night Market, it was like 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. It was 11. I was like, babe, I got to try one more time.
No.
I got to try one more time. So I went back there. I said, hey, Tony, let's do it again. Put the headset on, and I did the same material. Same material. Nothing different. My energy was probably the same. It was like insane like this. And then I sold mocks. I ended up selling 10 motherfucking mocks. And that's when I realized, Lucas, it wasn't my material, it was the timing. Because people don't want to come in night market holding a mop. They will buy mops at the end. And that kind of opened up this performer in me. Like, I had so much fun. It felt a fulfillment. So that's why if I did that, I think in 2017, then that's when I went and did stand-up comedy. But because the heart was already in the filmmaker's kind of realm for 7-8 years, it didn't want to leave that, because it was like, well, you can't pursue something new if you haven't even made it yet. If you haven't even made a feature film. So that's, I guess, flash forward, that's where we are now, of me finding a way to balance this trio of these 3 things that I'm trying to do, continually do, and just balancing it. Like, it requires a lot of like mental brain power, to be honest. Like, here's something crazy that I think hopefully your listeners can learn is sometimes, if, as you can see, I have a lot of energy, and I find a lot of people like say, oh, how do you have so much energy? I grew up by the last 10 years, people would say, oh, why do you have so much energy? So obviously if we're tired and exhausted and you run out of energy, it's something as so simple as this. We just create more energy. Like, the thing is, when you go to the gym, what do? We can work on our muscles. It's physical. We work on our muscles, we work on our abs, our weight, and all that. But what I've kind of developed over the last year was I create this headspace that's completely white room. And in my headspace, there's 3 doors, and each door represents the content creation, the stand-up comedian, or the filmmaker. And whatever door that I open, that door becomes the guy in charge. And if I run out of energy, I don't know if you're a Naruto fan. Are you a Naruto fan?
Not really, but I know him. But
okay. So the character, he's able to somehow go into his mind and meditate and create these extra clones of himself. And then when he's ready to fight, he releases these clones, and it's like a battery almost, and it releases from his head, and then he turns into this amazing being for like 5 minutes for a fight. So I kind of looked at that metaphorically for this. So it's kind of like, if we're tired and we need to do something, like, it's like, we need to create, you set this date for you. You got to go complete task A, B, or C. And if you need to do task C, you're tired. You just go in your brain or your mind, you take whatever you have from your own self being and just create another battery. So I kind of, I know it's crazy. It sounds crazy.
No. But
it's more psychological. I think there's another word for it. But if we're exhausted, it's only your body telling you you're exhausted. So if your mind can create something that is like an energy pill or an extra battery pack, and if you can release it when you need to, and it's infinite on how many you can create in your mind. But if we can create those, that's how, I guess for your first question, like you told me half an hour ago, that is kind of how I've been, like, it took a long time for me. I'm still figuring it out, is how to develop the energy blocks that I need in order to do these 3 things. Because I mean, an average Joe or somebody other special person, like a Carson or wherever, might be able to be working with his personality to focus on the one thing. However, I've realized this is who I am. This is my personality. I work in so many multiple ways. So for me to use that as my strength, I want to embrace who I am. So if I can be who I am and create what I can to weld myself into this being, then I know I'm doing the right thing for myself.
Milton, man, you are speaking so many truths, and it's kind of uncanny, just because like I am finding harder motivation to find that energy within me, to find that drive. And just you talking about opening different doors within yourself and then finding that charge as you pass through that door, it's just really timely. So thanks for sharing that, man. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's definitely something we could all do. Actually, it's actually super fascinating on how we can do that.
I want to respect your time because we do need to wrap up in about 2 minutes there. But
Oh my God, 2 minutes. Well, I could go a little longer if you want, if you have time, because I just literally did verbal diarrhea there.
no worries, man.
If I didn't get to your questions.
No, dude, we could legit talk for hours. Just, you're incredible, Milton. But I did want to just touch one thing about, dude, your own studio, your own production company. So just a question here. It's like, your Dear Hero Studios production company has created some pretty massive hits there. Most recently with Reverse, which is getting like critically acclaimed right now. How has it been managing both the business side and the creative side? And how have you managed pitching projects for them to be hopefully made?
Well, the shout out to all the team at Reverse. Josh Arias, incredible director, writer. Curtis Leung was also the writer and actor. We got Mark Yunko, Roy Lee, Tio. It was just an incredible team. We had Ray Tat as well. I could list everybody, right? It was such an incredible short film we did last year. Yeah, it gone to LA Pacific. That was a fantastic film we did. Even during that year, we were able to co-produce or associate produce another short film named Cafe Racer with Harrison and Dakota. So that was able for me to bring in a couple of my producers and team up. That film, I believe, is about to be finished. That's going to be a great, it's like a Japanese Canadian film. Nice. So how do I balance the two? Okay. So they say that if you have, I believe, the creative mind, I think it's the West hemisphere of the brain lobe. I'm not too a science guy. And then the logistics side is more of the other stuff, the East hemisphere, they call it, or maybe, I don't know, mid directions. What was the question again? How do I balance the creative?
How do you balance the creative with the with business?
So I think it's funny. My Dear Hero Studios, and this is honestly, I think this is the third one I've done actually. So I've learned from my failures, and I did something a little differently for this one, right? We're actually developing a feature film right now based on my family, Chinese restaurant. We were lucky enough to get a development deal, or development fund from the Canada Council. Nice. And this is a film that I'm going to, writing and shooting, and the whole team was producing. We got Curtis Leung as our lead. I'm going to be playing myself as the comedian relief. And like, it's a very passionate project. And, for myself, it's like, my other films I've done, I was actually very fortunate enough to have a great team that was able to support me into acting and directing. And even for this magnitude of this film I'm purposely putting myself as number 5 on the call sheet. I cannot play the lead. I don't want to play the lead. This is why I got Curtis doing it. He's a perfect for the role. He plays my older brother in the movie. So, I guess to balance it both was really understanding what I wanted to create and what I need to create. So making my team, something I did differently for everybody was the people that are on my team right now, they're making some other stuff. They're working with a lot of people. And I just told them, hey, you want to be in this team as a contractor? There's no, like, you're not glued to the team. It's like, you can do whatever you want. It's like, majority of the team, if not all the members, we're actually going to go on the movie. Oh, wow. So for us as Dear Hero, is we were doing a bunch of short films, even myself starting a bunch of comic sketches. We did the web series, but us doing the feature film, I think everyone is going to be on the feature film. That's going to be next year. Hopefully everyone's available. So that's going to be happening. And I think what I've realized is, if I'm going to do a day of like business side, like, yesterday I was doing producing. I was talking to Mike Morrison. Shout out to Mike. He's my other producer for the movie. Was just talking logistics, producing, funding. We're having a producer meeting this Sunday. So if I know I'm going to have a producer meeting, I'll just wait for the producer meeting before I do the creative. Obviously mixing the creative, it's so tough, but at the same time is I'm beginning to know how to manage myself. And it goes back to that. It goes back to those doors, really. Cause like, even today we have, I did some producing in the morning, then I shot a video, edited it in the span of 3 hours, having this podcast, and then tonight I'll be doing some stand-up comedy tonight.
Damn.
So, and even tonight, I'll go refine some jokes for an hour. But I know is like, if I did the producing today already, and if I'm satisfied with it, even if I'm not satisfied with it, I'll have to just close that door. It's as simple as that. It's just close that door. If I have a show at 7:30 tonight, and I'm working on a new 7-minute joke, actually refining it. Yeah, I'm going to tell a new joke. So I need to open up that door for the comedian side here, and just have that guy go in the weight room and go in the battlefield, right? Because I think the biggest struggle is when we launch ourselves into our minds. It's not just a white room. It's the white room, but there is just so much noise that everyone have. It's not just like your phone, but it's also society, what's going on. Everyone was bombarded with COVID. You could have personal finances, all that. So all these things just come attacking in us, which is, you've probably been in those situations where you're in a financial rut. I've been in many times where I'm like, oh man, I got to pay the bills. Like I got to go work as a grip job. How am I going to write this content piece, or why am I shooting this video or these 5 videos today, which aren't making any money? Right. That I find is still one of the struggles. Like even today I shot a video based on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Right. And then the other day we shot a baseball comedy video.
I've loved that one. Yeah.
Oh, that was so fun to do, actually. And it's kind of like, okay, what's the trade-off? What's the trade-off? Okay. I make this piece of content, it did well on TikTok, IG and YouTube, it did poorly. And it's like always that struggle, like what's the trade-off? How many more videos did I create? It builds a little bit of a following, but like for me as a creator, am I fulfilled from that? Yeah. And the answer is no. I still got to create more. So it's kind of like consistently finding. Never enough, I find with me. It's always like. Go ahead.
But you brought up a great point at the same time, though, just to like really encapsulate what you just said there. It really does come down to doors, whereas you can't have too many doors open at the same time because then you get overwhelmed. But to really channel that energy and go 100% into that one door, and eventually when you're ready to come back out and close that door and then go into the next one. Because otherwise, when you channel your efforts way too broadly, it just crumbles you. So at the same time, I love that metaphor of doors because it really focuses you to go into just one and focus on that too.
Yeah. And and just the door analogy, there's like there are times like once in a while, like even just being real, I'm a human being, right? 2 weeks ago, I was channeling all these doors and somehow my key card for my office, I couldn't find it. So I'm at WeWork here right now. So I planned a day to shoot here. I had my costumes, my camera, my lights in a wagon. I had my dog with me. And then when I got here, I left my key. I couldn't find it. And I was pissed off. So at that moment, sometimes, as human beings, your doors in your head sometimes are always like flapping. It's consistent. Like, so sometimes you're distracted with so much shit on your phone or whatever. You could have like 10, 20 doors. And I'm not talking like, okay, like for me, I got my 3 doors, right? That are those I want to focus on. But then also there are doors about family, about friendship, about finances, personal bills, all that, and past stuff. There's work. Like, I do tech job as a grip sometimes. So there's always these other doors that are consistently always going on. And even for us as creators and artists, it's like sometimes maybe you have an audition. You got to work on this audition, but at the same time, you get called for work. Yeah. And if you get called to work and you got to do 8 hours, how are you going to find time to, sorry, every word that is, I guess you have to find time now. Because for me, it's like I'm always believing in creating time.
Milton, we could literally talk for hours and I literally have more questions to ask you, but let's wrap this up just because we got to keep this. All right. So
how about this, Lucas? How about this?
Yeah.
Is next year, I'd love to be invited back to your podcast. Hopefully I'll finish the movie by then. Finish the movie by then. Yeah. We can talk more about that. We went into very psychological today, which is great, but yeah.
I love it. Honestly, I know you're going to have so much more stuff to to speak about, in come 2023. So we'll hold out for that then. Yeah. So at the end of our show in season 3, we thought to like mix it up a little bit. So instead of our 10-word association, what we're just going to end off with Milton here is a would you rather. And the question I'm about to ask him has been much talked about during this whole podcast. So Milton, would you rather? Okay. Would you rather work at your parents' restaurant for the rest of your life or never finish your first feature?
Whoa.
That's legit what I have there.
Work at my parents' restaurant for sure. Because I have to finish the feature. Never finishing the feature would be terrible. Okay, next.
Okay, that's all I had for that one.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to ask me this other question. I wasn't ready for it.
No. Let's give it up for Milton. Honestly, you're incredible, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas, for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, glad you had it.
I got to learn myself a bit. I got to learn about myself a bit.
Exactly. Where can people find you? What are your handles?
My handles is I'm on IG and TikTok and YouTube at Milton Ng TV. That's just Milton Ng. Every time I say Ng vocally, people don't know how to pronounce or spell it. They won't. Don't. Yeah. You're Lucas Ng. You know what's up?
I know.
People think. Hey, have you ever been? People say, "Oh, can I buy you a vowel?" I've had people come and say, like, "Hey, you should have an I. You should have ING because that's how you're pronouncing it, Ing." And I was like, no.
Yeah, exactly, man. You know what? Let's one day we should reclaim how to properly say that last name.
I'm pretty sure it's Ing. I mean, that's what my folks have told me. It's Ing. Okay. I hope so.
We'll compare Chinese names when we meet up again.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Any projects, anything that you want to promote?
I mean, I think it's just follow me on those social handles. I do stand up like minimum once weekly, sometimes 2. Sometimes I get lucky with 3. It all depends on how busy I am, but I always try to get 1. And then we have our movie, but there's nothing really to follow. Oh, if you want to follow our production company, we have our website, we have our Instagram, but it's just Dear Hero Studios on IG. We are still in development, but we are going to be posting pictures and videos of the whole development pre-production very soon. I mean, that's all I got.
That's amazing, man. Dude, can't wait to see more of it, man. Can't wait to see more of it.
Thanks so much, Lucas.
Yeah. And my handle is Lucas John Ng, if people do want to follow here. And if
make sure you follow Lucas. Don't even worry about this damn guest. Just follow Lucas. He does an incredible podcast. This episode 72. A lot of people, I give you kudos. A lot of people, when they do a podcast, man, they'll quit after 10, 15, 20, 30. So for you to do 72, that's incredible.
Would not be possible without my co-host and, of course, with our guest, too. So thank you.
Next year, I'll meet your co-host.
Yeah. Dude, we'll have you on again sooner rather than later. If you like what you see and hear, follow us to HWMIY Podcast on Instagram or wherever you listen to your podcast, be it Spotify, Apple, Google Play, all that. Let's give it up for Milton one more time, man. This was so much fun. Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much, Lucas.
No problem. We'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye.